In this lesson, we cover atmosphere volume. This shader or atmospheric effect allows you to simulate light scattered by atmosphere. You can use this effect with spotlight and all the area lights. Let me run the IPR and quickly walk you through the scene. We have for this lesson this house model with some dead spooky trees surrounding it. For the lighting, we have an Arnold physical sky with the bright blue color as the sky tint, and this is what gives us this beautiful sky. And intensity of the physical sky is about 0.3. You can check out the rest of the settings on your own. We also have 3 spotlights with similar settings, this one in the front, this one on the side, and another one on the back. To add an atmosphere volume to your scene, go to the render settings, Arnold renderer, and under the main tab, come down to the environment rollout. Right beside the atmosphere field, you have this button which lets you to create and add an atmosphere volume shader. So click on this button and choose atmosphere volume. First of all, in the IPR, you notice we have some atmosphere volume effect going on. Also in the material manager, a new atmosphere volume shader has been created, and this is the shader that has been assigned to the atmosphere field of the environment rollout. Also, you can create your own atmosphere volume shader right from the material manager and then assign it to the atmosphere field of the environment rollout. So from the create menu, Arnold, volume, atmosphere, and atmosphere volume. And now you can simply drag it to the atmosphere field. In this case, let's just use the one that we created earlier. So you can do it both ways. Now let's open up the atmosphere volume shader and go through its parameters. In order for atmosphere volume to work, you need to have a density higher than 0. Let's go to something like 0.35 here maybe. And density controls the atmospheric volume density. You can see the atmospheric volume effect in the IPR as I'm increasing and decreasing the density volume. We have this color. We can control the color of the atmosphere volume effect using this. Let's try a few colors here and you can see the results in the IPR. Let's change the color to its default white color. To make it more interesting, you can assign a texture to the color attribute. So let's open the network editor, search for the noise node and drag it here. Connect the noise to the color input of the atmosphere volume shader. Increase the scale in all dimensions to 3, octaves to 2, and amplitude to 10, and distortion maybe to something like 1. And now we get this complex atmosphere volume shader. We still can work on it, but as you can see, the noise is clearly affecting the behavior of our atmosphere volume. Now let's double click twice on that circle beside our color input in our network editor and disconnect the noise node from our color input, or you can simply click on the connection and that will also disconnect it. And we are back where we were. Let's close the network editor for now. Next we have attenuation parameters. As I increase the attenuation parameter, the light will only travel through the volume for a short distance, and as I decrease it, the light travels for a longer distance. Let's set the attenuation to around 0.15, and the attenuation value is multiplied by the attenuation color. So if I set it to blue, we are attenuating the blue color. If I set it to red, you are attenuating the red color. Let's put it back to white and set the attenuation amount back to 0. Then we have anisotropy. As I increase it, more rays will be scattered in the direction that the light is facing. And as I go to the negative values, more rays will be scattered in the opposite direction. And if it is 0, the light will be scattered evenly in all directions. Let's set the anisotropy back to 0. Then we have samples, which obviously controls the quality of the atmosphere volume effects. Let me just show you two renders with two sample values. For the first one, the sample value is set to 1. Very noisy. And in the second render, samples are 5. And obviously we get a much cleaner render. The other visible noise is from our light sources and also the diffuse samples. So let's select all the lights and increase their samples to about 4. Also in the render settings, let's increase our camera samples to 4 and diffuse samples to 5. And this is the render we are gonna have with these settings, which is much cleaner. Let's get back to our atmosphere volume shader, and we have another tab. We have camera, diffuse, and specular contribution of the shader. If you reduce the camera contribution to 0, you're basically disabling atmospheric volume shader. If I increase diffuse contribution, the atmospheric volume will affect indirect GI diffuse rays. And as I increase and decrease this value, you can see the effect in the IPR. Also, when you increase it, you might get more fireflies and more noise, and you need to increase your diffuse samples even more if you are increasing the diffuse contribution to be 1. Now, using the specular, you can control how much of the atmospheric volume effect will be seen in specular reflections. And it's very simple, just if the volumetric effect will be seen in specular reflection of surfaces or not. So that is about atmosphere volume shader, and in the next lesson we talk about another atmospheric effect, which is fog. See you there.